Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EAMC podcast. This is your all-access pass to go backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live entertainment industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to some of our favorite people as we dive deep into the world of live touring shows and the venues that host them.
Today's adventure has us checking in with a sports and entertainment marketer with over a decade of experience and some really interesting stuff. Excited to talk to our good friend, Kishore Ramlagan. He's the manager of marketing and promotions, Hollywood Park, SoFi Stadium, and YouTube Theater. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, first question. We got to get this out of the way. Can you get me Taylor Swift tickets?
Sure, we can make something happen.
All right, let's jump right in there. How many shows are you guys doing? You get 5? Is it 5 shows?
For Taylor, yeah, man.
Jeez.
She's crushing it here in LA.
So it has been, obviously the talk of the industry, these past a few weeks, and a lot of folks talking about it. First of all, for you from a personal side, right? Because I had people asking me, when we don't even have a Taylor date, right? But people are asking me if they can get
same.
Have people coming out of the woodwork when the show announced?
Yeah, no, I think with a variety of shows, especially in this industry, right, you'll hear from people that you haven't heard from in a long time when an artist like that pops up. But yeah, people out of the woodworks for Taylor. Every time she's in LA, she's doing fantastic. I mean, at Crypto, now Crypto Staples Center, she had the record. She's crushed it in the Rose Bowl. So now we get to have her here, and yeah, people are clamoring for her. So we're excited to have her, and it should be a fun one.
We were all watching those LA dates, and being like, and just thinking, oh my God, they just keep adding more dates. And
so many people.
There's gotta be part of you that's like, that's awesome. And part of you that's like, oh my God, that's an entire week of my life.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially with events, right? It sometimes feels like Groundhog's Day when there's multiple, but it's fun because, with an artist like that, there's always a possibility that there's special guests or there's something unique about every show. And I want to say it's like the tail end of her tour. So those always tend to be the fun ones,
It's definitely, a nice trend we're seeing in this industry that I really want to talk to you about because, with the SoFi Stadium,
yeah,
you guys have a really healthy list of events coming up. But there was a time pre-pandemic when the thought was, hey, arenas are going to struggle finding acts because everything's become so, diversified as far as lineups, and music listening. Everybody listens to this, and a lot of where all the arena acts are dying off.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing it's just not only the opposite, right? We're seeing acts that filled arenas that you new and up and comers, but we're seeing this healthy stadium lineup. What's it like to be part of that?
I think it's exciting. I mean, like you said, a few years ago, pre-pandemic, it was just like, who's going to fill these places up? And to think like, oh, well, there's only a handful of artists that will fill up a stadium, right? Especially a 70,000 seat stadium if they're doing a 360 show or, 50,000 plus when they're doing a end stage. And man, they've proved me wrong because I was one of those doubters, right? But they're doing and what promoters are doing, it's great because they're bringing on like openers or doing some festival style shows that are just killing it. Bringing in acts that, like the stadium tour with Motley Crue, you had Def Leppard and you had Poison. And, then you've got Kenny Chesney touring with a ton of great people. And, for us, Metallica, we just announced Metallica, and they've got 2 separate dates, but 2 different opening acts, and Pantera is one of them. Like, it's crazy. So
I love this. As long as you bring this up, let's talk because they're calling it a no repeat weekend, right? So it's fantastic. 2 nights, 2 different sets, 2 different opening acts. They're playing in the round at SoFi, right? Yeah. So how cool? I mean, and I'm guessing that entices a lot of fans to, come to both shows.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just the fact that they're doing that and they're marketing it at that is amazing because how often do you see that? right? Especially with touring performers. So yeah, especially in the round, SoFi Stadium, 70,000 plus, like it's gonna be rocking. It's gonna be amazing. And a lot of acts that we've had announced this year, or at least multiple. We have Grupo Firme doing the round. We've got Ed Sheeran doing the round. It's just exciting because, that's what you want. You want that full house, that feel like, when you have a football game, it's 70,000 plus. So that same vibe for a concert, I mean, it just gives you chills, right?
You bring up a good point in that. I think when people thought of stadium shows maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they almost treated them like an arena show. Like you're going to have one headliner and you're going to have like maybe 1 or 2 opening acts, but they're not going to be that strong of openers.
Yeah.
So then it does limit that pool of like, okay, I guess like the Rolling Stones and U2 can play stadiums, but who else has like that kind of pull to do that? Whereas now you're right in that a lot of these stadium shows, they almost have like 2 headliner level artists. Like you got Kenny Chesney with Chris Stapleton or something. It's like you're packaging these things, and then now all of a sudden, like almost anyone could play a stadium because you just stack it the right way on the bill, and you create this little mini festival. And then you can do it with any genre, almost like any artist, because it's just all in how you stack the lineup. And I think it has really opened up so many more tours and so many more stadium possibilities. And then, I don't blame the artist, although from a fan experience, you're kind of like, oh, now I'm watching them from a lot further away. But imagine the grind of like playing, like 40 or 50 arenas. If you can pull off doing 10 or 15 stadiums, like that is a much easier life,
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then it's, I'm not going to say it's a shorter tour, but you're just capturing a lot of your fan base, which is amazing. And again, you're getting more in marketing. It's getting your bang for your buck, right? The consumer's looking for that. So if you can see similar acts or artists that you like as well outside of that headliner, I mean, the more the merrier, right? Just bring them on, make it a longer day, and I'll be there all day if I'm a fan. So
that Morgan Wallen show you guys have coming up, we've got it too here in Columbus. It's a great example of that because you get Morgan Wallen, but then there's also Hardy, Ernest, Bailey Zimmerman. So if you're a fan of that kind of country music, it is now like Paul was saying, it's a mini festival.
Yeah.
But when we went on sale last week with this show, time we're recording this, we did one date and then it rolled into a second date.
Yep.
And here in Columbus, both shows sold out via verified fan.
Yep.
So we never even had a public on sale, if you will, which is so crazy to me. Talk to me about what that's been like for you from your end and how you guys are, because obviously there was the Taylor Swift, but then now there's Morgan Wallen. Verified fan thing is becoming huge. And how do you think fans are embracing that?
Yeah, I think it's the way I see verified fan. It's similar to when you're trying to buy a pair of Jordans. Good things and bad things. So when you score those tickets, you're like, yes, I won the lottery, right? But it's interesting because we try to get fans signed up to help push not just our email database, but also get them so that they can sign up for verified fan to help them get those tickets. At the end of the day, we want fans to get their tickets. Now, whether it's working or not, I mean, to me, it just makes it a little harder for fans because it's
true. There's some mystery to it that doesn't sit well with fans sometimes.
I think that on a fan perspective is kind of the gripe. I can't speak much to it because I haven't had to deal with it personally yet. I'm sure I eventually will, but that's how I see it. It's that lottery. It's that opportunity to get your tickets. And when you do, it's just like you capitalize and you get, you get your tickets, but it kind of creates that demand in a sense because it's like exclusivity. So it's interesting for us. We've just been, trying to deal with it and mitigate and hoping that tickets sell. At the end of the day, we want tickets to sell, right? As marketers, and having a sold out house, because that's a lot out of our control, unfortunately, right? We just try to handle it accordingly. And if it's selling well, we can roll to a second show or, if we have that opportunity. But for me personally, it's an interesting approach. And I know I kind of get both sides of like fans are happy, fans are not. But
it all depends on if they got the ticket or not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they got the ticket or, again, it creates that unique demand, because you know that if it's saying verified fan, you kind of know it's going to be a quick selling ticket, and then fans will be eager to wake up and line up and do, again, that whole Jordan model.
It is. That's a great analogy, because I think from people I've heard that were trying to get Taylor tickets or Morgan Mullen or any of these other ones, it's like it's not only them. It's like they literally have like every member of their family doing it, because it is this lottery. So it's like it's like if you really want those tickets, do you want one chance at it, or do you want 20 chances at it? So it's like, and it's the same with the shoes. It's like, you really want those shoes? Then you better like have every person that's a good friend
your 2 laptops,
that also doesn't care. Yeah, exactly. All your devices are trying to log in, trying to get it. But it's you're right. It's a different thing. It's so funny. It makes me wonder too that if more shows start selling out through verified fan, like how does that change the on sale? Do you stop having an on sale? It's almost like how the pre-sale killed the on sale in a way. Like pre-sale used to be this like, ooh, an exclusive thing. Now there's like 400 codes out there. It's like most of the tickets are sold in pre-sale, and then like why have an on sale? Yeah, exactly. The on sale is just like the rest of the inventory that we're dumping out. So it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of years how that verified fan changes maybe the pre-sale or the on sale or anything.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to like also you use those pre-sales and on sales in a way as a venue or a marketer or agency, whatever that is, as a way to grow your database, right? So finding ways, if everyone's going through the verified fan and they're not really going through your site or going through, there's a lot of variables as a marketer that you have to think of. But again, at the end of the day, our job as marketers is butts and seats and people having a good time. And if we can do that in whatever means possible, by all means, it helps us. So there's a win in that as well.
Totally.
Kishore, anybody listening to this podcast that's involved in arena marketing at some point has done a WWE event.
Yeah.
We've all dreamed of doing the granddaddy of them all, right? WrestleMania. You guys have WrestleMania coming up in April at SoFi. Tell me about what it's like from a marketing perspective with putting on WrestleMania in 2023.
Yeah, man. It's exciting for me as a fan. Right, I
was going to say also from a personal perspective. You're going to have to watch Kishore as he's walking around. He's going to we're going to see him up on the screen, come out of nowhere with a chair. He's got the chair.
What I'm trying to do is get a match on the card.
Exactly.
Those superstars by tossing them a chair to win the belt, whatever it takes. Just some screen time. But no, it's amazing because again, I grew up watching it. I still watch it to this day. And as a fan, but also as a city, as a venue, it doesn't get bigger in that sense for sports entertainment as WrestleMania. And the fact that now, ever since they were in Tampa, it's a 2-night event. I got to witness it in Dallas and see what they did firsthand. And now to be able to, again, as a fan, to work it and work alongside them to make this thing happen here in Los Angeles, it's pretty cool, man. It's the Super Bowl of wrestling. Everyone knows what WrestleMania is, and iconic things happen. And for us, it's just making sure we can match that in a city, that has so much going on. Like making sure, people will be watching all over the world. People will be attending from the last we saw, or we're told from our meetings with WWE, I think it was 57 countries traveling in. People have purchased tickets.
That's wild.
So, adding Los Angeles and Inglewood as a destination city and showcasing what our campus is and our venue to these people all over the world, that's the exciting part. The fan in me wants to make sure that it's as successful as possible. And, I'm a small grain in that sandbox, but yeah, man, it's trying to make sure that we meet the expectations of what WWE is wanting, but also what the fans will want to see. And one unique standpoint, as for me as a fan, I'm trying to think of those ways and finding those things that I'd want to see when I'm traveling into a city to watch a WWE event as big as WrestleMania, right? So it's been fun. It's been ongoing conversations, working on bringing talent and integrating them into events in the city, stuff that we're doing in stadium. We just had the Miz at SoFi Stadium at a Rams game, a Rams Raiders game. And it was electric. You know, those guys are so good, and seeing them do it off the cuff, just naturally spewing these lines out and hyping the crowd and getting the boos from the Raiders fans and all that. It's amazing. So having the ability to work with them to do those kinds of things, again, putting my fan hat on, it's amazing. Like, you know,
that's always a huge advantage whenever you have some sort of event when it is someone that you like personally. You know, it's like, you know, it's always a challenge whenever you have some artists come in, and whether it's, you know, artist gifting or some clever thing to do for a welcome or some sort of like activation, you're having to like put yourself in the shoes of these fans that you don't listen to that music, you maybe not even that age group, you know?
Yeah.
So it's always this big advantage whenever you have an artist or an event or some group come in, and it's like, I am that fan. So it's like, you can even envision like, okay, so we have the Miz, like you can probably think of a better way to use the Miz than like someone that's never watched WWE. They're going to be like, it's just, here's a talent. Whereas you're like, I know his storylines. This would be a really fun way to play off that, you know? So I'm sure that's a huge advantage, because you're able to look at it from that perspective and think, okay, how do we really make it special for the fans? Because I know what that would be, you know?
Or I know their taglines or something, you know, he mentioned the line, and he got interviewed by the in-arena host, it's kind of funny. They didn't know what to expect from him, and he already had thought what he was going to say. And he was saying, like, you know, something like, he said along the lines, we have it, I think, on social, but he's like, oh, you know, I'm glad everyone in here is wearing black, because there was a lot of Raiders fans. Because it's the same color that they'll be wearing for the Raiders funeral or playoff hopes. So, and the whole crowd just started booing, and the hosts were like, and he goes into saying like, this is the Rams house. He starts like yelling it in the camera, and the hosts are like, oh my goodness, because they didn't know what to expect from him. But the whole crowd was booing, and he just loved every minute of it.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
Hey, you know, because he was a fanboy too back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, that's how he started off back when he was on The Real World on MTV, taking it way back.
And what's funny, there's a lot of people that didn't know him as a wrestler, and like, you mean the Miz from Real World? And like, man, that was a long time ago. So,
okay, so you know, obviously we've talked, you know, quite a bit about SoFi, but that's not all of your job. As we mentioned at the opening, you know, YouTube Theater, Hollywood Park. Kishore, tell me about your job. Tell me what you do. What's a day like for you?
The day-to-day, the heavy day-to-day is YouTube Theater and trying to not just promote the events and work closely with our promoter Live Nation and our booking team, but it's you know, bringing the awareness of what this venue is, this intimate space. You know, it's a 6,000 seat venue, nuzzled in the corner, you know, of SoFi Stadium. And for us, it's creating this awareness for fans that are attending these events to know what's happening at our venue. I mean, we've had, since it's opened, well over 120 events. This last year was a record year for us. We've had great performers. The sound is amazing, and we're still, you know, creating our identity in the space of what is Los Angeles and what you're competing with, you know, with all the famous theaters and venues we have here. So doing that and bringing unique acts and performances and artists to our venue has been one of the fun parts. And again, creating that identity. So that's a lot of what I'm working with closely with the staff there, outside of working those events, right? That's what makes my day-to-day fun and unique, creating that awareness and campaign that will help us get that portion of fans that we know will come to a venue like this, right? Because SoFi Stadium, like you said, Paul, earlier, you might not see the artist might look like an ant at the stadium, right? But you go to the theater and it's an intimate space, and you know, we've had artists like Eddie Vedder, who has spoken so highly, Jack White of our audio. We've had Alicia Keys, the Gorillas, you know, to name a few. And, you know, here at the end of the year, we're finishing with a speaking series with Michelle Obama. And it's just, this year has been fairly hectic in that sense with events, but in a good way. And what my job is here year two. And, you know, we recently were nominated as one of the candidates for Theater of the Year for Polestar. So how do we use that to brandish ourselves throughout the city and creating that messaging? And whether we win or not, it doesn't matter, but showcasing what YouTube theater is part of my day-to-day.
And how about your role with Hollywood Park?
Hollywood Park as a whole, so we're kind of the umbrella, right? Hollywood Park, and we've got SoFi Stadium, YouTube Theater, Jimmy Kimmel Label, American Airlines Plaza, and I'm sure there'll be more than I'm missing, right? But through Hollywood Park is, working on creating unique community events, and I'm not going to say that I'm the one spearheading that. Our department's fairly big, and we have people that focus on that stuff, but it's supporting where needed for those community events or soon to be our retail space and outside events, and being that asset wherever needed. So we just had Winterfest at Hollywood Park Retail. Others on our team, Anjali and others, our community team really spearheaded. Baron Davis did a celebrity basketball game at our retail space. We had vendors, we had gifting. It was very community based. So doing things like that for, again, Inglewood as a whole, as we continue to build that identity, has been very important on that Hollywood Park umbrella.
I love that you mentioned it's got to be both tough, but also an exciting challenge that with YouTube theater, you do have so much more competition in the market. Like, I will say that probably LA has more stadiums than most anywhere else, but still there's only so many stadiums, right? Like, if Taylor's going to play a stadium date, she's going to go to like one of 3 places in the LA market. Whereas with that 6,000 level, you've got a lot of competition across the market. Some of them are these older historic theaters. You've got some more modern theaters that are kind of in these complexes. So I'm sure that presents a challenge, but also a great opportunity for you to kind of carve your space in that story.
For sure. And that's part of the partial struggles, but also excitement of my job. It allows me to be creative and think of ways of how we can use our branding and our unique identity as we continue to build that identity to, again, earmark ourselves as that venue or one of those venues. Again, there's so many competitors in that size. So whether it's the artists we're bringing or, continue to ensure that our fan base is enjoying themselves and creating that unique fan experience, which is very important for us. Continue to do that. It just it's constant thinking of, what if we did this or what if we did that? And again, coming down to that one perfect idea, it will happen, but it takes, I would say, some trial and some error, right? And that's the fun of marketing. It's what we do. If it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, how do we move on and
on to the next?
So that's the unique thing about the theater. And again, it's this little gem that I feel people don't know about a lot yet. The people that have been there do, but once you're in there and the audio and the environment and all that, it's a great space for music.
So Kishore, let's get in the Wayback Machine and head back many years where you were, if I got this right, kind of a fan of the LA Galaxy, even a season ticket holder before you got your internship there.
Yeah, man. So it's part of my unique story, which I think in our industry we all share. We all have unconventional paths into this unique industry of ours. Mine was, I grew up playing soccer. My dream was to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. That was short-lived.
So setting the bar low right there.
That obviously didn't happen, right?
What? You still got a lot of years ahead of you, Kishore.
Sitting in the stands as a season ticket member for the LA Galaxy, and it was actually 2011 MLS Cup because they had like a 3-peat year. I was sitting in the stands. I'm like, I'm about to start. I transferred to Cal State Dominguez Hills, which actually shares the parking lot of that campus. And I was like, man, obviously I'm not going to be a pro. So I smacked myself with reality and I said, what's the next best thing? I was like, it'd be really cool to work for the team or the stadium. Like, imagine me being able to work MLS Cup or, so I started digging and doing that. And, being that I was on campus, I was like, oh, well, it's going to be easy. Well, it wasn't easy because it's not, just because we share a campus means they're giving jobs. So I started networking. I attended a few networking events from Teamwork Online that the LA Kings put on, had conversations with people and reps that were there. And long story short, the person I met at this networking event, I had a really bad resume, no experience. I had no real like suit or tie. It was just like a really faded dress shirt, terrible slacks. Barely get into what is this industry or trying to. But what I knew I had was knowledge of that product, but also sports in general. And I could speak to anything that was happening in sports. So my conversation revolved around that and how I could be an asset in that way. And the guy that I spoke to, I had made really terrible business cards on like Microsoft Word. I put on my resume, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? Not many people are doing that today. Good, thank you for putting your business card on the top." Not a week or two later, the LA Galaxy are like touring with the MLS Cup and all that, and I meet this guy whose name's Matt Russo, still in the industry. He's like, "Kishore," and I couldn't remember his name for the life of me. And I'm like, "Oh," and he's like, "It's Matt." I was like, "Matt, how's it going?" And he's like, "Hey, there's this internship opportunity. I would love for you to apply." And it was like a unique 2 students from Dominguez Hills promoting like a college night at the LA Galaxy. And it was like a semester thing. I applied, went through the process, and I landed that job. So I watched them win MLS Cup. And then that next couple months, I had an internship with them. And then crushed it that first year, did phenomenal. They went back to MLS Cup as an intern. So I got to experience it kind of as an intern.
Probably due to your efforts, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. all my ticket sales and fandom. And then they brought me back again. So 2 years in a row, I did this internship. And towards the tail end, I was looking, and I thought my path was going to be in sales. Usually in the sports world, it's you get in through the sales side, and then you move around and you figure out your path. And it wasn't working out. There was opportunities. I had applied everywhere, about like 13 different teams, sports jobs, college, all that. It wasn't working out, and I'm a big firm believer things happen for a reason. My HR person at the time told me this coordinator position opened up, and I applied. Had to do like a 30-minute interview with the GM, presentation on boxing and how I would promote this event. There's the GM, SVP of AG Sports, the person who would end up being my boss, in HR. And this is right. It's crazy because it's the tail end of 2013, and I'm finishing my last course at Dominguez Hills. Right as I finish my last course, I have an interview an hour later for this coordinator position. I do these terrible posters. Again, I still have it too. For this presentation, mock it up on Illustrator. Again, just terrible, but they look good for me at the time. Self-taught. And then I kid you not a few hours later, on my way home, I felt really good about that interview. I felt like I knocked it out of the park. And I was actually in the mindset of like, if this isn't it, I'm done. I won't even pursue a sports career or entertainment career, because I had applied to everything. I got the job. So starting in January, so I had just finished my class, hadn't even graduated, like walked the stage, but I got the job in January, starting at the LA Galaxy, at the time, StubHub Center, formerly Home Depot Center, as the marketing coordinator. So that was kind of like my start in the industry. And then that first year, I got to experience an MLS Cup as a full-time employee. So I got to see it as an intern, as a season ticket member, intern, and then as a full-time employee. And let me tell you,
that's awesome.
Full-time employee championship party is nothing like when you're an intern. It's amazing. So it was just the cherry on top. It's kind of like that fandom, and then seeing it throughout. Again, not in my wildest dreams, to experience that and party alongside Landon Donovan and Robbie Keane and all these soccer greats for the LA Galaxy, which was my boyhood club. Amazing. You can't write it.
it's just so cool. But Kishore, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and you talk about crushing it, right? But literally, you go from a game day intern to a sales and marketing intern to a marketing coordinator to a marketing supervisor. Yeah. So what for that young person who's listening today, who's wondering how do they get to that next step? What were the keys to you being recognized and chosen to move up within the organization?
Yeah. So one thing that I always tell students that I go speak to, or even if it's people I interview or people that report to me, it's network. There was one guy, his name is Jeff Ginter, that I was sitting as an intern. I remember it was my first 2 weeks, maybe even closer to a month, and I was just me and this fellow intern would just go in, sit at our desk, do our job, and leave. And then he came up and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "Doing our job." He's like, "You're supposed to be here networking. Your foot's in the door. How are you not talking to people? How are you not And he took us around and introed us to everyone. Even so, before that, he took me, he's like, "Hey," and I remember this because it terrified me after I found out, but he took me to the GM's office, Katie Pandolfo, and he's like, "Go ask her what she does." And I'm like, "Okay." I walk in and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Kishore. I'm intern at Dominguez Hills. I want to know what you do." And he's like, she looked at me and she's like, "A little bit of everything." And everyone back behind me is like cracking up because this is the GM. And I'm like, no clue, just no clue. But then after that, it's just like opened up that opportunity. I got introduced, I met everyone. And that was that's the one thing. It's network. Your foot's in the door. It's outside of paying your dues and grinding and doing your job and asking people if they need help and learning from everyone around you. It's networking. It's learning people's stories and their paths and how they got there and bringing that personality of what you are to that company, because at the end of the day, that's what I think that's what a company is looking for. It's if you're a good fit and if you're a hard worker, because this industry is so rigorous and it's not traditional 9 to 5, people that can handle that, but also if your personality fits. Like, again, everyone out there that is pursuing this, if you've got an internship or entry paying job or whatever that title may be, network. Every opportunity I've received in this industry and how I've climbed up the ladder is through networking.
So true.
It's so important. Yeah. And that goes to whether it's marketing or sales. If you're trying to find someone that you're doing business with, going to do business with, it's networking. It's talking to them first. It's that person-to-person interaction. It doesn't have to be transactional all the time. It's creating that relationship that I think is so important in this industry. And again, you got to pay your dues too. We got to grind. We got to do stuff that isn't just handed to us. For me, I was always known for asking, whether it was a sales rep, whether it was a game presentation, anyone, "Hey, do you need any help? I'm here. I got an extra hour." Even on game days, it goes a long way because people see that, even if they don't tell you thank you, know that you did it. And that gets reciprocated in this industry, I feel like.
Totally. That's great advice. I mean, I think it's so much about not wasting that opportunity. Yeah. Because you mentioned sometimes people kind of get in and then they just coast a little, or they only do things that have been assigned to them. And I think you really have to grind, but you also have to think, okay, I'm already in, how many people want to be where I'm at right now?
Yeah,
and have this opportunity. And it would be silly for me to waste it by not taking full advantage and, working hard, working 110%. Sure. You're going to learn from it. You're going to meet a lot of people, and so much of really any industry, not exclusive to live events, but very much so in live events, is knowing people. And it's going to help you in every side, both from your career, but also advice when you've got an event you're working on, or, even us doing this podcast, so many if we didn't know some of the guests, we knew someone that knew a guest, or we knew someone that knew someone that knew a guest. And it's like, it's all about this connection, and you really have to embrace that. And I think sometimes, which I get, like some younger people might not be as comfortable talking, but then there's ways to improve that. Like, work on your networking skills, start in small little bites, but don't think, oh, that's just not me. I'm not a outgoing person. It's like, then polish it, polish
make it better. So that's great advice. And I try to do my best part in showcasing this is who I am. I try to be this, leave whatever at home, whatever at work. This is me. I'm always very, and it's funny because like someone like Kara always used to say, like, we don't know if you have a good day, bad day, and Kara used to be my boss, and which is like a good thing. She's like, you're just you. So I try to do that with people that come work for me or give advice to, just like, enjoy it. There's people that think that this industry is so massive, and yes, it is. But what's crazy is that within this industry, someone knows someone that could help you get somewhere. And it's just this chain that's so small in that sense that it's amazing, right? And that's the uniqueness of our industry. The networking opportunities and the availability. I tell them, like, just an informational interview goes a long way. For the 10 you send out, you might get that one. But at the end of the day, look, like what I'm doing right now, people like to talk about their story, about themselves. They're going to give you the time when they got the time. So that's big on the networking front.
So after almost 6 years with the Galaxy, right? You make a career change. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I got a call from Kara Vanderhook, EAMC legend, and this opportunity arose. And again, through networking, I had met with them, and part of my mentality while I was at the Galaxy was, I'm in LA. I should be talking to other venues. And again, this is under the same umbrella. It's AEG. I was like, what are they doing differently than what I'm doing? We didn't have a lot of concerts at the Galaxy. It was mostly sports heavy. And, that's what has really created my mindset in this industry is I have that uniqueness of doing both sports and live entertainment now. But that jump was, it was partially driven of me trying to find out what they were doing with the Latin market and, marketing in itself, maybe relationships that I could get, better deals, or, whatever that was. It was never my intention to work in concerts, live events. It was always just like, I want to know people that do what I do and get what I do, because there's a lot of people that don't. So through those networking and those lunches, an opportunity arose where, I got to interview for this position as marketing manager with Staples Center and Microsoft Theater. And, it's funny because for me, I was at the Galaxy. It was the end goal for me. It was like, man, I'm working in soccer. I'm working for the team I have grown up following. What more do I need? And I would always say is, man, I don't know how people work downtown. It's so busy. It's crazy. Why do people like to drive there? And sure enough, I ate my words, because once that opportunity came, it's so hard.
You're like, I love downtown. Yeah, it's great.
Well, it's like, how often does Staples Center come calling, and the people there, and an opportunity to speak for that kind of position, and to be at home, right, in one of the busiest venues in the U.S. So I packed up my bags and made the move to concerts and live entertainment. But also part of that mindset and decision was, I'm a marketer. I know sports. I know soccer. I know boxing. We had a lot of boxing at Dignity Health. Now, how can I be better and more well-rounded? And I saw this as an opportunity to be better in my entertainment career, as in, okay, now I can add concerts and live events to my belt. Like the sports side, I know. How can I add to myself? And that was that opportunity. And, I'm gracious for that jump and that chance to work with, again, some of the best in the industry. And what then became my second campus under my belt, which is LA Live, Microsoft Theater, and Staples Center, So it was just too hard to pass up at the time.
Tell me a little bit about then, your time there, and then kind of what you will take from that experience into your new gig, and how you ended up at SoFi.
Yeah. So that experience, again, it was just learning the ins and outs and the challenges. Because again, I came from the sports side. So for me was, how can I better myself and understand these little nuances, or whether it's the lingo or the people, the higher ups, or these heavy hitters in the music industry. How can I use that and learn that? Because that was the biggest struggle. Because on the sport, for me, that's the uniqueness I bring in me, is I've got that sports boxing, live events kind of situation under my belt, or experience, not situation. But how can I bring that into this world of concerts and live events? So for me, it was just learning all of that. It took some time. There were some bumps, but having people like Kara Vanderhook, having people like Marina Paul help me, and my other coworkers, right? Samantha being one of them, learning from them how to mitigate these events and figure this out, because it's a whole different beast, right?
Yeah.
Was a big learning curve. And what I learned from there and working the various events, helped me make this transition to what is now SoFi Stadium and YouTube Theater, because now I'm getting both worlds. Now it's the sports and combat plus the concerts, live events. So it's kind of that best of both worlds. It's crazy how it works out, because at Staples Center, I didn't really do the Lakers, Clippers, Kings. They kind of did their thing. They had their own team. We would support with social and on key events and moments. My time at the Galaxy and Dignity Health, I did the marketing buying and all of that for the team itself. So it was just this cool mix of who has molded me to this new role at SoFi Stadium and YouTube Theater. And
did you find that you had, I don't know, like, were there any sporting events that were at previously Staples Center that you were able to kind of like, oh yeah, sport, little sports, like whether it was a boxing or maybe even like something as like Harlem Globetrotters or something. I think there is like a little sprinkling of sports outside of the teams. Was that kind of this nice like comfort of like, aha, it's a sporting thing, I get to dust that off a little bit?
For sure. And I think that's what made it unique in itself as well, because I had, you're doing the concerts, and I love music, I love all that, but it's also different in that sense, because in sports I feel like you're doing, again, in concerts, events, you are wearing multiple hats, but there you're doing a lot as well. So getting that in the boxing in particular, I knew those promoters from my time at Dignity Health, and like, oh, Kishore's here, great, we know what he does, he'll do what we need, that kind of stuff. And then learning with WWE and actually working with WWE, or there's like Basketball Hall of Fame event that we took a large leap into with Marina there. So I did get the sprinkling of sports, but then also getting to work Lakers opening night with Evan, or my other coworkers Patrick and Casey at the time, Clippers opening night, Kings opening night, that kind of stuff, or jersey unveilings or statue unveilings, NBA All-Star game, those kinds of things. I got my sports in there, so it was fun, and it offered me the opportunity to still have that, which again is a passion of mine, but enough to where it was just like, okay, I see why I love sports a little bit now. I'm here. This helps me a lot. So
don't lie to us, Kishore. You went to Staples because you were like, now I can finally work a WWE event. And then now you're at SoFi because you're like, I got to go to a venue where we could potentially host WrestleMania.
Which is funny, because when I was at Staples, we actually came to the press conference for WrestleMania, which was supposed to happen like a year sooner, right? But COVID kind of derailed that. We were here, and I was like, man, I'm actually here for a press conference for WrestleMania, and we're at Staples going to support WrestleMania week with 4 other events. So it was like, I'm still getting that love. So it just, that jump just so happened to happen. But it prepped me, to answer your question, David. What I learned at Staples and from the team there is, a lot outside of the relationships and the knowledge of what that process is. It's establishing processes and adjusting where needed, and those industry lingos and those people that are heavy hitters, again, was a big learning curve for me.
Sure.
Coming from the sports side. So that was very, very important in what I am now, right? Which is, I'm not going to say full well-rounded. I'm close.
We're closing the circle.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about being well-rounded, obviously you have a life outside of, what you do for your career. And I know a big thing for you for a long time was, your time with Rim of the World Soccer, where you were, actually worked as an assistant coach. Yeah. Is that something you still get to do?
No, not so much anymore, man. I had a brief stint with Rim Soccer, my soccer, high school soccer team. I really enjoyed it because I think you get to help mold some of these young men. And I was doing a lot on the JV side, and a lot of what I was doing, this was like in the early stages of me getting in the industry, especially on the sports side, showing them that there is an opportunity to do these things, that it isn't like there is stuff outside of soccer and working in sports. So for me, it was really important in showing that, but again, helping mold young men to pursue, whether it's a lofty goal or whatever it is, an ambition. That was fun. Like, I do miss it. I do miss playing soccer. I haven't done it in a while.
Have you been able to kick the ball around down on the SoFi field there?
I should. Next time we have the soccer field down, I definitely will. For Gold Cup in July. But yeah, doing the coaching and offering help, it was crazy because I didn't get to finish that season with them, the JV team. But at the end of the year, we had won MLS Cup, and I was able to bring MLS Cup to their end of the year party and award ceremony. So for a kid, I mean, like, taking pictures and having the MLS Cup, like, I don't know, unique touch. Yeah,
that's cool.
And I added trophy handler on my resume at that point too.
Yeah, you have to wear the white gloves.
Yeah, I'm actually doing that right now. We have the Gold Cup with us, and we're doing photo shoots and all that. And I'm walking around with a huge trophy and white gloves, and I was like, "Where are you going with that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just my coffee mug." So definitely done a lot with the trophies.
So many great adventures. I loved hearing about stuff, and like you said, it kind of feels in a lot of ways like you're just getting started. So I do appreciate you taking the time to share all that. Before we let you go, I want to hit you with our fast five. It's five quick questions, just looking for your instant response. First up, what was your very first concert?
My very first concert was later in life, actually, was at the Santa Barbara Bowl. It was Jason Mraz, and I was probably 17 years old when I went to my first concert. At the time, she's my wife now, but my girlfriend bought me tickets, went with friends, made a weekend at Santa Barbara, and we got to see Jason Mraz.
How about your all-time favorite concert?
Oh, this one's tough. I've been asked this a few times recently, and it's so tough. But as a fan, it was in the nosebleeds, and this is before I worked at Staples Center, now Crypto, was Mana. I was like in the nosebleeds. I was probably like 4 rows from the top. Yeah. But I love that band, and seeing them live was amazing. As an employee and working an event, oh man, there's so many. But I'm gonna say, like, just recently, Red Hot Chili Peppers was really cool at SoFi Stadium. Got to experience it. Had some friends there, and they just put on a great show. So I would say that.
What's your favorite thing to do on a day off?
Ooh. On the rare.
Right. We get whatever. You remember those, right?
Yeah. What are those? Hang out with my family and my kids. I've got a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and we just welcomed a pair of twins not too long ago. So,
holy shit. Yeah. I'm going to say, holy shit, dude. I think that's my first time cursing on this podcast. That's a lot.
Yeah. So spending time with my family and my kids, like chilling at home, whether it's playing video games with my 6-year-old or, trying to do something fun on our day off. I don't get a lot of chances to bring them into work since I live a little farther from the stadium. So it makes it harder. But doing that, spending time with my family.
Oh, good. Prayers for you, man, because that's just, I know, I just get some sleep when you can. That should be your favorite thing to do on a day off.
Just need a few hours.
Who's your all-time favorite WWE superstar?
Ooh,
oh man,
all-time favorite. So I'm gonna go with The Rock, Dwayne The Rock. Just loved him, his charisma. There's a lot. You guys are really making it difficult for me. I could name The Undertaker. I could name.
He's got a top 20 list.
Yeah. There's no one. You mean my Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah.
But there's one guy that is no longer WWE, but he was WCW. Was Sting. He looked like the Crow. I got to meet him at my time at Staples Center, and had him sign my shirt.
You were that guy.
And I was like, oh yeah, it went complete fangirl on him. But it was awesome.
Last question. What is your theme song? So there's a reality TV show all about the life of Kishore. What is the song that plays over the opening credits to the theme song of your TV show?
So having listened to this podcast, I've had some time to think. There's two. There's just because in terms of my personality, I feel like it fits. It's not so much my generation, but Gotta Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. Just love that beat. Yes. Kind of just moving and grooving. And if you see me on the AMC, you kind of get it because I'm like dancing after I had a few drinks, having a good time. And then there's another one that kind of fits my Latin side because I'm a Spanish speaker, grew up listening to them, is Me Vale by Maná. Me Vale kind of means like I don't give a crap. I don't care. But it's cool because it's got an upbeat, exciting, and every time it plays, I have to sing it. So one of those two.
Awesome.
Hey, if somebody wants to reach out to you, and not ask you about Taylor Swift tickets, but or follow along with your adventures on social, or follow the venues on social, give us the plugs here.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the venues. It's at SoFi Stadium, at YouTube Theater, at Hollywood Park to see what we're doing and how we're doing and how we're being creative, innovative, and trying to push the envelope with our team there. And then personally, it's at KRamlagan1 on Instagram, and then Kishore.Ramlagan on Facebook and all other socials. My name's unique in the sense that you'll find me. It's either me or my dad with the name. So I'm a junior. So if it's not me, it's my dad. So apologize for any confusion. But yeah, follow me there. LinkedIn for anyone that wants to reach out and ask questions and what we do in Latin marketing or whatever that is. Happy to answer those calls and those questions and have those conversations. For me, I'm a firm believer in helping elevate and create that next generation of marketers and how we can do that and innovate in our space. So again, thank you guys for this awesome opportunity. I look forward to seeing you guys in person real soon.
A truly inspiring chat today. I do great talking with you, and I really, really enjoyed this today.
No, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Again, truly honored. It's cool to be able to get recognized by industry professionals, and it means a lot. The kid that never thought he'd work in this industry, let alone speak for venues that he's worked for, it truly is amazing. So thank you guys.
That's awesome. It's such a pleasure talking with you today, and hey, and a big thanks to everybody who takes the time to listen to Adventures in Venueland and hear these unique adventures and stories, and every path is unique. We definitely heard one today. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast and find more episodes wherever you choose to listen to podcasts. We do love your 5-star reviews if you have the time, so you can help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. And I have one question for you. Do you smell what Kishore is cooking? Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference, a nonprofit organization bringing together people in the field of live entertainment to discuss marketing, publicity, and sales trends. Find out more at eventarenamarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.